Mutation. It's the method. Look, if you're not going to take this seriously, I won't either.
Get upset on the internet, you're a salt adult, you're a salt adult. Get upset on the internet, you're a salt adult. Throwing out a hissy fit, your views ain't in the millions, and every up and comer is a threat to what you're dealing. And instead of getting better, you just spout up on your Facebook, crying on your Twitter bit about how bad your case look. In case you didn't get it yet, allow me to rephrase it. Your grandma than my 4-year-old, I'm actually amazed. Like you couldn't even see the forest for the trees. The writing's on the wall, literally there to see. How you getting sold that a culture blowing up, man? I think there was a point where you stopped growing up, man. Instead of showing up, man, irrationally mad. Don't appropriate impression like the latest fashion fad. It isn't cool or funny to be acting like an edgelord. You alienate friends, pushing closer to the edge more. I don't know how to say it anyway to make it clear. If you're the one unhappy, then the problem's in the mirror. Get upset on the internet, you're a salt adult, you're a salt adult. Get upset on the internet, you're a salt adult. The net is a repository for the vast expanses of human knowledge and all the technological advances. And I can't say enough how you gotta be open-minded. If you're looking for a fight, then you damn well find it. You got an axe needs grinding, you're not alone. There's a million other nerds who can bitch and moan and groan about how there's a release date delay of the new game. Man, decrease the cliche of your neckbeard. I'm afeared of the intensity of your love for two characters. You claim I've got some chemistry and they belong together.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to Retro Station 1989. I'm Commander Dan, and this is License to Play. It's an evaluation show where we evaluate old retro games and materials based on licensed properties. Things like comic books, movies, TV shows, arcade games sometimes. Heck, even breakfast cereal mascots or soda pop. If it had a license and it was based on a retro game was based on it, then we evaluate it to keep America and all of mankind safe from being liquidated. Well, this week, I gotta tell you, well, anyway, pardon our dust, okay? These robots are plowing ahead with getting the station refurbished, and while I will say they're doing fine work, I'm kind of shocked that Planet X's idea of refurbished is 70s NASA tech. Anyway, it looks like they're about to make a big mistake. Cambot Jr., bring up camera 114 in the rebuild area. Check this out, Space Pirates.
So I says to him, wait a minute, looks like we got us a looky-loo. Beepity-boopy. You said it, Beppy. Hey there, hot screens. What do you say you monitor our vitals? Oh!
Query, are you addressing me, Constructobot 255?
Oh, yeah. You know it, Sister Tronic. Boopity-boopity. Whip, whip. You tell her, 297. Come on, you know you love the attention, baby cakes.
Dawning understanding. You are, in the human vernacular, catcalling me. You now have my attention.
You know it, baby.
Solution. Your programming is faulty, 255. Yours as well, 297. The only repairs you require would be expurgation and high-velocity expulsion from the cargo area into the upper atmosphere of the Earth for high-temperature disintegration.
Whoa, sorry, hot stuff. No need to be so hasty, baby.
Correction. It is, as my chief responsibility as Station AI, to diagnose and eliminate all misconfigured or malfunctioning hardware. To wit, if you don't get back to your job, this will include your destruction. Hot stuff.
I think she's going to be just fine, folks. Can't say the same for the Constructobots. Now, this week we're looking at a superhero who's not a mutant per se, but definitely mutated, which counts, and even if it doesn't. Space Santa, the supreme leader of Planet X, the ones who are threatening Earth with destruction if we don't evaluate these games, has said I can evaluate whatever I want. And while last week's game was good, great even, it was basically a corporate money grab that did more than it needed to. This week, we're going old school. An independent property created by one of the most maverick and independent-minded creators who ever walked the face of the Earth. And this property, let me say, Well, you've seen the thumbnail already, so you already know, but this property ain't your ordinary superhero franchise. To get started, we gotta hit the Wayback Machine's way back button, way back to the year 1974. So long ago, I wasn't even around. But this was a crazy, intense time for our pop culture scene. In the late 60s, exploitation films based on bikers, criminals, and racial tensions pushed at the boundaries of good taste. And in the 70s, those boundaries were pushed outward incrementally with films like Dog Day Afternoon and Taxi Driver. Also, things like Straw Dogs. These were rough exploitation-style films, but with artistic style and merit. But then, after fitting in with the other smaller indie production companies during the 70s, in 1980, Troma Entertainment frog-stomped Hollywood, aimed its creative hand cannon at the figurative establishment cinema's skull, and splattered the perception of independent cinema all over the back wall of the seedy dive bar called exploitation flicks. Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Herz moved into creating flicks rather than just owning properties and pushing and promoting films they thought deserved prominence, and began doing the Lord's work of discovering talent and pushing them into the mainstream, like true patrons of the arts. Folks like, well, the patron saint of B-movies himself, done cheap and exploitative, Roger Corman. Rest in peace, Roger, you are missed. Troma discovered or gave big breaks to folks like Vanna White, Kevin Costner, Michael Jai White, no relation, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, I think they're related, and there are more, but these were the ones Camba Jr. and I could find of video game footage of. And like I said, in 1980, Troma created a movie called Mother's Day. Oh boy. This movie's about assault and revenge, where at the end, one of the bad guys gets a gut full of drain cleaner, and it is splat-tastic. But if you think I'm showing you anything from that one, you're mental. Here, instead, is a picture of a monkey hugging a cat, because I'm now hitting 500 subscribers, and I don't need YouTube going on safari up my butt because I have non-advertiser-friendly content. The UK banned it. It wouldn't get a first look in other European countries at all, making it both legendary and infamous. And, of course, because people are crap, and I'm one of those people who loves this movie, a cult hit. In America, it was received like a hot cat turd on a birthday cake, with Roger Ebert, also rest in peace, but notoriously hated all horror and slasher flicks. He said this of the movie: "The question why anyone of any age would possibly want to see this movie remains without an answer." Well, let me, Roger, after all these years and multiple viewings of this movie, give you that answer. Buddy, sometimes dark content is hysterical, Roger. Sometimes movies ain't for everyone. And while you're entitled to your super wrong and soft-ass opinion, you're not entitled to encourage the censorship of a company just because it isn't to your taste, soft batch. Now, I don't mean to be offensive or insulting to Mr. Ebert's memory, but this soft-serve, baby-back bitch response to a movie that's both horror and satirical dark comedy about many things, including the women's movement and this old stupid philosophy of est, trust me, it is well done into the bargain. It became par for the course for Ebert and Gene Siskel, his partner in wine. Kaufman and Herz and Troma Entertainment began by creating movies of the future, and whoa, buddy, the 80s brought forth things like home video and video rental stores, which meant Troma was going wide with their releases, and mom-and-pop video rental stores were the perfect vector to spread their particular brand of mental wackiness. And let me tell you, Troma's history of flicks goes back a long way. And while they have a huge library of what you call schlock classics, they also are the origin point for some of the greatest directors in the history of both comedy and superhero fare. I'm not kidding. When it comes to horror, Troma did two things brilliantly. The first was Splatstick, hilarious horror, and the humor with that. Also, total abandonment of good taste and decorum. This abandoning of the mainstream to abandon taste lives on today, and I'm a huge fan. But hey, License to Play isn't necessarily about horror movies, and trust me, I am looking for the scariest, creepiest, soul-blackeningest game for Halloween this year. This is Superhero Summer, so we're not talking about that really right now. You know, the Marvel movies and superhero movies in general are just a way of life now. Even the lesser-known properties are making bank. Don't believe me? The three movies based on the Guardians of the Galaxy, that's not even a Z-tier comic, have made nearly $3 billion overall, and made characters like Rocket Raccoon and Groot into household words in the same realm like stalwarts like Spidey and Batman and the Hulk. The director of those films, James Gunn, got his start where? at Troma. No lie. And I know he's going to bring that bloody-mindedness and anti-establishment attitude to his run at Warner Brothers' DC Universe. Now, I hear you all groaning out there, DC Universe fans. I know you like the total bro dude showdown DC of Zack Snyder and David S. Goyer, both of whom make good movies, but I really wish they'd stay away from superhero stuff because they both pretty much don't get it. They don't get the hero part of superheroes. Anyway, I know that your problem with James Gunn, and you must have just triggered on him and said, "Oh, James Gunn is woke." James Gunn is woke? Now, I can't show you more than a trailer for Tromeo and Juliet. Hell, I can't even directly describe to you any part of it other than it's insanely gross and insanely funny, and it's low budget, but it's a quality flick. And, by the way, if you can go into that movie and go ahead and identify the woke part of it at all, I'll give you something great from the Retro Station. And I have great things here I'd love to share with folks. But trust me, you ain't going to find anything woke in that movie. Ugh. But why mention Gunn at all? Because superheroes and shared universes are part of Troma's DNA too. In 1984, I was 11 years old. And that summer, we got a movie on VHS that changed how I thought about superheroes, horror, and comedy. We'll be right back, and I'll tell you all about it.
From John Carpenter's The Thing, now the ultimate in alien terror is in the palm of your hand.
It's Palmer! He's turning into a thing!
Quick, Windows! Blast him with the flamethrower!
Oh no! He's got windows!
Real alien ooze!
Oh no! He's getting away!
But R.J. McCready won't let him escape.
Hey, where's Blair?
The Thing action figures come with everything you see here. Each figure sold separately. From Hasbro.
You know, for
I don't know, fellas. I don't think Commander Dan is gonna approve of this.
Oh, look at the baby. See here, kid, you want to be taken seriously like a real grown-up man, a meatball, a weirdo space thing? Then you gotta go grab us some Robo-Beers.
I don't want to be a grown-up. I'm only 2 years old. And I don't think robots drink anything either, much less beers. And naughty people don't get fruitcake for Space Christmas. So, I don't think so, fellas.
Dramatic throat clearing. Ahem. Splat. Please cut comms and get back to whatever you were doing.
You got it, dude.
Observation. You aren't binge watching Full House, are you?
No.
Very good.
I'm binge watching the behind-the-scenes documentaries and blooper reels.
Relieved statement. Good, Commander Dan will be pleased. Now, you two miscreant mechanicals, this is your final warning. If you continue interrupting the station's work, the punishment will be severe.
Come on, we were just having fun with the kid. What do you care? Weeby Boo showed me your show. You guys hate that little meatball.
Incorrect. Explanation. Splat is crew aboard the Retro Station, and your attempts to get him in trouble are disruptive beyond the annoying antics he may or may not have gotten up to in the past. Understand? Future violations of station rules will result in repercussions. Ominous tone. You have been warned.
Beep, beep, beep.
Beep, pip, beep, boopity, beepity.
I'm very sorry, Miss Margot. It will not happen again.
Hey, CBJ, keep an eye on those two Constructobots. I got a bad feeling about them.
Absolutely, boss. I'll let you know if there are any further disruptions. Or Margot will eject them into space and then let you know when they're destroyed.
True. Well, folks, never a dull moment aboard the Retro Station 1989. Now, we were talking about, Troma, and a weird thing that happened in the year 1984. Troma produces an eternal classic. The movie was a Toxic Avenger, Jersey's newest superhero, protecting Tromaville from all kinds of dirtbags, from druggy serial killers behind the wheel of a car, muscle car that is, the big boss of local organized crime named Cigar Face and his group of weird O miscreants, and they are weird O's with a capital O. But he wasn't always the handsome matinee idol you see here in this spotted leotard and tutu. His story begins with Toxie as the nerd, Melvin Ferd Junko III, weirdo geek janitor at the Tromaville Health Club, who is tortured constantly by the aforementioned car killers who are just walking around apparently doing whatever they want. Anyway, I can't show you that either. Here's that monkey with a cat again. Anyway, it all culminates in Melvin leaping from the second floor window into a flatbed carrying open toxic barrels filled with toxic waste. And just like the comics this movie is satirizing, toxic waste doesn't burn off your skin and make you wish you were dead. No, it turns you into something awesome. It turns Melvin into the invincible Toxic Avenger. And the movie becomes one part typical superhero trope, but rapidly becomes a heroic slasher killer movie where all of the victims are deserving rotten crooks, and the hero is, once again, this handsome feller. You know what? Up yours, Dexter. Melvin did it first, and he did it best. The movie is just great. Find it, watch it, own it. And if you've already seen it, why not let me know what you think of it in the comments section down below? You know, I always want to hear what people think of the Toxic Avenger the first time they see it. So, Toxic Avenger was an underground hit for the broke brains among us, myself included, hell, chiefly among them. And from 1984 moving forward, and corporate America realizing that hooking kids into mainlining the most addictive things on earth, toys, they would have guaranteed cashish coming in, hand over fist, for the entire lifetime of these people. And just like today, Hollywood and toy makers would rather re-release and reboot properties than come up with unique and entertaining content. And folks, they, the money maniacs at the Hollywood studios and the toy companies, came together and found a gold mine. Check this out. Now, in the past, I did cover the weird version of the game Rambo that came out in '87, based on a very solid R-rated flick from '85, but it wasn't just video game Space Pirates. Oh no. Right after the second film in the First Blood series, based upon a mentally shattered Vietnam vet who disemboweled police, destroyed property, and was basically the villain of the book version of First Blood, Coleco, the toy company that would do so much licensing in the 80s, created the Rambo The Forces of Freedom cartoon series in conjunction with a toy line of the same name. It was like Coleco saw G.I. Joe creating comics and cartoons as a commercial for their toys and said, "Hold my steaming cup of human blood and organs," and created a similar fantastical military toy line, except the weapons and gear and playsets were insanely detailed. You could be sure that the playtime with these soldiers would not be blue and red lasers hitting nothing. There would be pink mist all over the place, and war crime trials for years following. Rambo wasn't alone, though. In fact, there was a Commando line of toys based upon the brutal-ass R-rated Arnie movie of the same name. You know, kids' toys based on a movie where this happens.
Remember, Sally, when I promised to kill you last?
That's right, Major. You did.
I lied.
So, the Commando team, or C-Team, no, that's not made up of, I don't know, Horace Hogan and Vincent and possibly, I don't know, Jeff Jarrett's cousin. Anyway, the C-Team is made up of Specs, Blaster, and Chopper against the Forces of Fear, led by Psycho, who's based on the character of Bennett from the movie, who you could have substituted for Freddie Mercury, kind of. Anyway, and it's consisted of Leadhead, Stalker, and Sawbones. RoboCop had a toy line, too. I mean, there are serious hardcore scenes in that movie. Here's a clip from the all-ages arcade game. And they made toys for little kids based on this. You know, I will say the Ed 209 from that line was pretty great for the time. And those toys used caps for Gen Y spinners and our lovely millennials. Here's some help. Caps were explosive strips of paper that literally were just little nipples of gunpowder on a roll of paper. They were designed to make a fairly noisy pop that made any toy gun seem more dangerous and more authentic. But they could be detonated with impact, or you could make an effect like firecrackers by just scraping a rock down a strip of them. So if you ever wonder why folks like your old Commander Dan, that is to say Gen X kids, why our latchkey asses are so disaffected and tough, well, I mean, these were the types of toys we played with, because our toys were literally made of gunpowder and carcinogenic-laden plastics, based on rated R movies.
You know, for kids.
And once you had one, R-rated action flicks were now fodder for kids' toys. And since no one worried about us scabby, leather-skinned children of the 80s, we were practically living like the kids in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, for crying out loud. In '85, Coleco tried to bring balance to kids' toys by creating these mumpty-faced, bullum-headed babies called Cabbage Patch Kids. A craft fair aficionado and another mental case, Xavier Roberts, created these wee nightmares, and the gimmick was each one had a birth certificate and had Roberts' name tattooed on their ass, suggesting that these slightly creepy-looking kids might be both human, trafficked, and pod people grown in a cabbage patch. Kids went off for these weirdo toys, and because nothing could be done just as a weirdly cute oddity without someone else trying to tear it down in the 80s, again, why are we tough? Because everything was a damn war in the 80s. The Topps company created a trend that would last into the 90s by inventing a new obsession of very particular kids. Weirdos. You know, guys like me. They come out with these garbage pail kids. Kids' tastes had developed from the ultra-patriotic fervor for Rambo and his no-nonsense and, frankly, insanely detailed action figures. And while things like RoboCop had been softened for American youth audiences into cartoon series, the 90s also became the hotbed of the late 80s' newest obsession. Gross stuff. Boglins, Madballs, Creepy Crawlers, which was a foundry for toxic chemicals made for kids 10 to adult, the Inhumanoids, gross creatures from the center of the earth that, well, take a look. Gross, right? And there were gross creatures in the Ninja Turtles line. Gross crap was the newest obsession going into the 90s, especially toys using slime. Holy shit. You need to check out Pixel Dan's Slime Toys reviews sometime. I'll link a playlist in the info section, but man, they're great, and slime is freaking awesome. Now, all these things met at a convergence point in the 90s. Gross and R-rated properties meeting. And with Captain Planet and his preachy ass talking about the environment, someone needed to come up with a more fun way to battle pollution, and also take the piss out of old Captain Planet, of course. And so Troma and Lloyd Kaufman came up with a cartoon about the Toxic Avenger, and his very loathsome and gross buddies fighting alien foes, and probably coming up with a cursory nod to pollution and calling it Toxic Crusaders. This is Toxic Crusaders. We're looking at the Sega and Mega Drive versions because I don't own the others. Let's take a quick peek at the cartoon they made regarding this franchise and see if the game itself has a license to play. First, let's take a look at the cartoon and the major players. The cartoon came out in 1991, the year Anthrax and Public Enemy destroyed racism forever with Bring the Noise. And at that time, I was a huge dickhead. For all my friends watching this now from way back then, I owe all of them a huge apology. I was a dick for the purposes of anything pop culture. I was a sophomore in high school, so naturally I was a jerk. But when it came to pop culture and trendy shit, I was a super dick. How big of a dick was I? Well, let's just say I was the Ben Garant of the state of pop culture dickheads. Like that, you see? So while Batman the Animated Series got me super psyched, hearing that Troma was making a 90s colored, kid action figure boondoggle of a crap cartoon, it pissed me off for some reason. I thought they were going to sell out what made Toxic Avenger great. The raunchy slasher movie aesthetic and the violence, trading it in for a sappy Captain Planet cash grab? Ugh. But now, I am an adult. I'm also in a creative field with a day job. And I see that, now into my adulthood that I understand that cashing in on the stupid kid market is precisely the move Troma and especially Lloyd Kaufman would make. And without shame, because shamelessness is the Troma brand. And I sat down recently and did a halfway dive through some episodes and watched the pilot from beginning to end. Actually, there's a lot there that's just hysterical when put in the context of the adaptation versus the film. Well, take for example Melvin's origin. I mean, nearly getting with a sheep while wearing a tutu and then being humiliated by the whole town? Well, that's transformed into the same scenario, but it's Melvin embarrassed that he's wearing a tutu, and it's like the show is pointing right at the differences for the real Troma fans. The level of, this is the lowest sweatshop animation we could afford, is the fabric of the joke of the show. Like the bad guy henchman who points out the flaws of the main boss's plans, but literally points out exactly what's going to happen when the heroes win. Because crappy 90s kids TV is predictable, so was this show, even more so. Almost to a dumbed down level that makes you want to punch yourself in the head. And I kind of dawned on me that the show is actually damn clever. And the reason for that, one of the showrunners and episode directors is none other than Chuck Lorre, showrunner for some pretty great comedies, 2.5 Men, Big Bang Theory, Young Sheldon, the list goes on, and it's always, you think it's going to be some mainstream crap, but Chuck Lorre always sneaks some really great humor in there. So, the show was a clever commentary on the commercialization of properties for kids, and hit a lot of adult-type humor in the scripts. The show's a definite watch. You can find the episodes around the internet, including YouTube. And so, I don't regret much in life, but I kind of wish I hadn't prejudged the show as a mere cash grab when I was a kid. Now, let's dig into the games. The NES and Game Boy had versions, with the NES being a pretty shoddy beat-em-up, and the Game Boy being, well, a fairly competent platforming shooter, I guess. I do like the opening on the Game Boy. It represents the game's animation style and the show's style very well. Both are difficult, and I need to take a much closer look at both to give you an evaluation. I mean, the graphics are pretty good and all, but the second you pick up a controller, whew, these games, they're kinda, what's the word I'm looking for, Doctor?
Well, I think it's booty. That's what it is.
And as for the Sega Genesis Mega Drive versions, let's take a look. For a start, we'll go through the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, the graphics. Now, I don't know why this is the case with so many licensed games, but there's this idea that earning the good graphics is the reward you earn for wrestling with the game's bullshit playstyle or whack controls. Because later levels in the NES version, well, take a look. Not bad, right? They're actually pretty impressive for the NES. I think the issue here is that the game was created quickly, and I imagine the studios behind these games didn't want to make cash grab material. They actually wanted to do great by Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Herr's creation. But the corporate side of it, time wasn't devoted to getting the game fully tested, or right in any way. So the Genesis version's graphics are a massive good. Each of the characters, Junkyard and No Zone and Toxie, look like their cartoon counterparts. The villain sprites use every bit of the color palette that the Genesis and Mega Drive has to offer, so you won't hear me complaining about the graphics. The sound is typical of a video game on the Genesis, it's mid, and the controls and gameplay, oh god, they're bad. They're so bad. They're a toxic soup of half-ass implementation and well-intentioned complexity to make the game seem more deep than it would ever have to be as just a regular beat-em-up. It's not really going to be hard just to show you some of the highlights of a World of Long Plays playthrough. Oh, and why am I showing you that instead of my playthrough? Because the controls fought me so hard, I couldn't play it on live stream. I had to skip it. But check it out. The Genesis does a great deal with the graphics, and later in the game, they carry this title practically to acceptability. But only masters of crap control translation into human hand function are going to be able to get anywhere in this game and see any of that content. And one weird thing, No Zone, the guy with the giant nose, is OP in both the Game Boy and Genesis versions. Dude's sneezes are able to melt most villains in his path. But as to why this is the case, who knows? There are many questions about this weird and kind of terrible game. The only question that matters, of course, is, does Toxic Crusaders for the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive have a license to play? Nope. No, unfortunately, no. It has to have its license revoked. But for me, yes, because I love the property. I mean, if you want to get a copy of it, and this is a warning, okay? You need to really like Troma and the properties of their company to engage with any of the titles that are in the Toxic Crusaders line, especially the NES version, which is virtually unplayable. Because while they ain't super expensive to get, they can run up your game bill pretty quick if you're buying them all together. However, and check this out, Cambot, show the footage. That's right, there's a new Toxic Crusaders game coming out. Screenwave Media and Troma, along with RetroWare, are putting out a true Toxic Crusaders game. It's a 4-player classic arcade-style beat-em-up in the style of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or Turtles in Time, or The Manhattan Project. You know what? Just any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade-style beat-em-up, it's like that. And it's going to feature all of the heroes from the Toxic Crusaders show. And right now the demo, people, is free on Steam. That's right. Now this week we have a letter from Space Pirate Bucky749. Go ahead and put that up on the screen stage, Cambot Jr. And the letter reads, Dear Commander Dan, this is Bucky749 from Small Town, USA. Well, hello, Bucky, and thank you, Small Town, USA, for supporting the show. Question. Am I going to ever cover the Bill and Ted video game release on the Switch or the Bill and Ted game on the Lynx? Yours truly, Bucky749, and P.S. Party on, dudes. All right. Well, thanks for the question, Bucky. He's a longtime subscriber, he and his brother. Now, I did review Bill and Ted for the Nintendo Entertainment System a while back, but I haven't yet picked up the Switch Collected Edition of all the games that they made about Bill and Ted. I think there's 2, but I did look a bit at the Game Boy version of the game when I was making my review, and I didn't really see anything there that I liked. I never even saw the Lynx game, so if that's out there, I will take a peek, and I'll give you my opinion on it. Stay tuned, and I'll tell you what I think of that game. Once I've actually played it, Bucky. And one more thing. Party on, dude. Alright, we're just 1 week away from the last week of Superhero Summer, and we're going to take a look at a superhero game featuring all of the all-time greats from Marvel's Pantheon. And well, we should be done with all this construction mishigas well by then, so before I go, remember to like and subscribe and to hit that bell if you want to see when our shows are coming out. And last but not least, no matter what I've said during this evaluation, prior evaluations, or in the future, remember to always, 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 always stay retro. Peace.
Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. You're a salt adult. Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. Throwing out a hissy fit, your views ain't in the millions, and every up and comer is a threat to what you're dealing. And instead of getting better, you just spout up on your Facebook, crying on your Twitter bit about how bad your case look. In case you didn't get it yet, allow me to rephrase it. You're grandma than my 4-year-old, I'm actually amazed. Like you couldn't even see the forest for the trees. The writing's on the wall, literally there to see. How you getting salted, a culture blowing up, man? I think there was a point where you started growing up, man. Instead of showing up, man, irrationally mad. Don't appropriate impression like the latest fashion fad. It isn't cool or funny to be acting like an edgelord. You alienate.
Great. And to wrap up this piece of business, does Rambo for the NES have a license to play? Yes. However, prepare yourself for an adventure game that's kind of a role-playing game with RPG-style advancement and a close but elaborated version of the Rambo flick where everything is amped up 80s style. And more than that, grab a manual scan from your website of choice. Mine is vim.net usually, but I grabbed mine from digitpress.com's archives this time. You're going to need the manual to play the game. Check it out and give it a chance, but you don't have to take my word for it.
Butterfly flying by, I could shoot you in the eye. I'd shoot you dead, right in the head, because I'm reading Rambo. I can shoot anything. I shoot that dude, his rocket too, because I'm reading Rambo. I can shoot anywhere, because I'm in a Jeep while your parents sleep. I'm reading Rambo. I'm reading Rambo.